Vadd here, and welcome to a mod review. We are looking at the DinoOverhaul X mod. DinoOverhaul X is sometimes simply shortened to DOX. DOX is an overhaul mod. This means that DinoOverhaul X will significantly change your experience from the base vanilla ARK. Currently weighing in at 2.5 gigabytes, this is a fairly large mod. You will have an opportunity to ride around on vanilla ARK's boss monsters as some of your regular tames. DOX has a tiered tamed progression system you will need to climb in order to progress. Failing to utilize DOX-specific armors, saddles, and weapons will also prevent you from progressing. Playing on a recommended map under recommended settings as a new player, please expect no less than 10 hours of brand new experiences. In most circumstances, there is more than one way to progress from point A to point B in the mod. This gives the mod high replayability. Additionally, there is a large amount of RNG. Frankly, sometimes you just need to get a little bit lucky. And there is a skill gap. You just may be a little better than the average player. All of these factors make it very difficult to accurately determine what a start to finish length of playthrough might be. I believe an organized tribe of experienced players could potentially enter late game DOX content under recommended settings on a recommended map inside of 5 to 15 days. When we account for learning curves, skill gaps, RNG, and the sheer size of this overhaul mod, your average casual solo ARK player will likely have no less than a month or more of new fun DOX content to explore before they're at late game. Here at the mod's Steam Workshop page are the most important directions for this mod. Failing to play on a recommended map can negatively impact the creature spawns. If DOX is not first at the very top of your mod list, it will not work. Do not mix overhaul mods. It will ruin progression, balance, and potentially the spawns. The mod has built-in life cycle. This means when you first spawn in, you will not be greeted by top tier tames. There's a little bit of a grace period as the life cycles for the DOX creatures load in. If your ARK character has not been in the world live playing for at least 48 hours, do not be surprised if you have not experienced any of the unique DOX creatures. For these built-in life cycles to work effectively, actively running dino wipes will negatively impact the life cycle of the DOX tames. It's also important to note, as a single player, if you are failing to run Prevent Hibernation, you may not have the life cycle properly functioning. These recommended maps, settings, the insight into the creature life cycle is an indication that there's been an attention to detail and balance in the DOX mod. I had fun in my time playing through the DOX mod. This positive experience likely skews my review toward a more optimistic outlook. If you enjoy additional challenges, repeated obstacles, being forced to adapt and overcome new events, you too might enjoy this mod. I think this mod is for anyone who wants to give it a try. I think everyone can make it into endgame content. I would score this mod with a high fun factor. My biggest frustration points with the DinoOverhaul X mod are the massive RNG loot tables. This mechanic bottlenecked my progression and had me feeling like I was stuck over farming certain tames only to discover I was actively farming the wrong thing. The lack of clarity. Consistently, I would die, and it was not immediately clear what killed me, nor was it clear what was the catalyst for my demise. Mistakes and failures became exponentially more expensive the further I progressed into the mod with seemingly limitless cap. An early game misstep might only set me back in between 1 to 4 hours of progress. Moving further into the mod, a setback as a solo player could cost 2, 3, or even 4 times as much. Here are some quick tips for you to succeed in your DOX adventures. The DOX book is your friend and has vital information to help you get from point A to point B. When you're not using the DOX book, unequip it to avoid any DOX book bugs. You can build a base anywhere you want. That does not mean you should build a base anywhere. I recommend building off the ground and inside of a cave. DOX megas do not de-render. This means a base should include DOX mega walls and or a DOX dome, since they will prevent a mega from clipping into your base. Assume you know absolutely nothing and you'll be closer to the truth. Most of the DOX bosses can destroy any and every structure. Time spent on fancy traps for primes, megas, titans is likely doomed to fail. Without proper gear stacking, it will be impossible to progress. This involves taming pygmies, utilizing the DOXed enhanced armor, maintaining your corruption stones, and much more. Farm everything and drop nothing. More often than not, some gear that you drop is vital to progression later on. You will surely regret not killing every Sarco in sight when you need those Sarco eyes. Know your place. Failing to understand the core of the DOX tamed and DOX wild tiers will surely be your doom. I've put together a series on the channel here that goes significantly more in depth. You'll see in the episode's description a bulleted list of what I consider the early game, the mid game, the late game, and the end game. Early game should be spent on securing your base location, working towards a pygmy farm for pygmy taming and pygmy evolutions, and taming a reliable tame to challenge the nest defenders and move into prime tier bosses. The mid game truly begins once you have secured your HQ, hatched your first egg of the big 3 of 4. That's a dragon egg, Manticore egg, or a wyvern egg. You might try and do a golem run. That would be a fun challenge. We now begin farming the prime tier dinos as we work towards getting our hands on a completed set of the DOXed enhanced armor. Not all primes are created equal, and many of them have unique move sets, unique abilities, unique resistances, and mechanics. As we approach the late game, we not only have a completed set of our DOX enhanced armors, but we have leveled up our tames closer to an ancient tier. That's a top tier tame. The late game will give us access to better tames as well as end game armor with a set of Manticore armor. Just like with the primes in the mid game, the late game content of the mega tier has many unique resistances, mechanics, and interaction. Upon successfully fighting your way through the megas, you may feel ready to take on the Titan tier. This is a part of the end game DinoOverhaul X content. The Titans are truly a class all to themselves. I've designed this series to be watched as a whole. Each episode builds on the foundational knowledge learned in the previous episode. You can, of course, jump around and use the timestamps to find what you're looking for. However, it can be tough to replicate things when you don't understand why they work or what point in progression we are doing them in. Hey, can you do me a huge favor? Subscribe now. Right now, push the subscribe button. If you've watched to the end, you must like the stuff. I'm Vadd, and if you learned something or enjoyed this video, share it with a friend. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you have joined and enjoyed before, welcome back. If you would like to see more quality content, please consider joining me in supporting the channel through Patreon and utilizing the affiliated links. Thanks!